Tanisha, welcome to the Sipping Point.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I know, straight from Paris. So maybe you can tell people a little bit about your wine journey. You're an American living in Paris. Tell everyone your story because I know there's going to be some people totally inspired.
Okay. So it started with, us in our WSET class, and that kind of kicked off a real love of and appreciation for wine. And also seeing you all in class, between you and Tim and, some other people that were in class that were in the industry, really thinking like this could actually be something, go somewhere, what have you. So I ended up teaching a class at PG Community Prince George's Community College in Maryland. So I was teaching like a wine one-on-one class, still in the background of a full-time job. I worked in IT, and I came across this conference for wine tourism. I was like, this sounds interesting. And they were looking for speakers. So I pitched myself to speak, got accepted to that. Through that, met a woman there, and we kept in contact. And she messaged me one day and was like, hey, I can't teach my classes next semester. I got some stuff going on. Do you want to teach for me? Oh, by the way, remember, I'm in Paris. So I was like, wait, okay, well, be there next week. Like, I was very excited because here we go. But then also excited, but then tried to talk myself out of it because I'm like, there's no way this will work out. There's no way this is how you get to Paris. This is not how moving across an ocean works. This is not how getting a new job works. This is not how any of this works. So I didn't do anything. She messages me like a couple weeks later. It's like, hey, did you talk to the director? She's waiting for your email. I was like, oh, this for real? So I messaged the director. And then we get in this back and forth of just, oh, well, you need this. Can you send me this? And then I'm figuring out what the class would look like, because there were two classes, figuring out what that would look like with me teaching it, me doing a sample class, and then thinking about the legality of me working in another country. And we figured it all out. I decided, all right, I'm leaving DC. I'm going to chill out in Chicago for a second because I'm from Chicago. Going to chill out in Chicago for a second and then figure out this whole Paris thing. Got to Chicago, I think 2 weeks after I got to Chicago. They were like, hey, we worked it all out. This is November 2013. We worked it all out. Paris is a go. Classes start February 2014. I was like, okay, so I got to get myself to Paris. And so that's what I did. I came, the school ended up being a sham. I taught the class, that was interesting. Really loved teaching and realized I really liked teaching. But then when that was over, I was like, not coming back here, but let me figure out what else I can do because I have to be here in Paris. I have to figure that out. So I went back to Chicago, got all my affairs in order, paperwork, all of that. And then I came back to Paris for good, October 2014, and I've been here since then.
That's amazing. And just going for it. Most people would have kind of been hesitant like you were in the beginning and maybe just left it at that. I'm assuming you started teaching classes in English speaking folks to start. I think you're pretty fluent in French at this point.
At this point, I'm fairly fluent. There are still some situations I get in. I'm like, wait, what did you say? Even with some winemakers, when they start getting real technical, when they're in the vineyard and they start pulling certain leaves off of trees and then they start talking certain chemical processes, I'm like, oh, I don't know these words in French. Real talk, I probably don't know them in English, if we're being honest. Like, right. I don't know what all that stuff is. But definitely, I don't know all the leaves in French. So there's that. So I'll just lean over to somebody and be like, excuse me, do you know what this is in English? Or can you spell it for me so I can look it up later? And then usually they're pretty nice about it at that point.
That's great. So Girl Meets Glass is your company, your business. So tell us what you offer, what you do, in case obviously I will link to your website and people want to connect with you. How can people experience you over in Paris?
So many ways. I do private tours of wine bars in the city, which is super fun. We'll go to a few wine bars, we'll get a glass, and we'll have a little bite to eat. I'll explain wine bar culture, explain a little bit about the neighborhood, and then of course talk about French wine. A lot of people just don't understand the whole region versus grape name and that kind of thing, so we'll talk about that. I also offer an an experience on Airbnb. So that is something that we can do. So you can experience me that way. Also write, and you can find my articles. My latest articles I've written are for The Infatuation. I focus largely on drink. So since it's Girl Meets Glass, it's all kinds of glasses. So I've done wine, I've done cocktails, and my latest one a couple weeks ago was coffee. So those are all the ways.
Nice.
And then social media, of course. I'm always talking about what I'm drinking.
Yeah, and you're part of a podcast called The Swirl Suite, which I was a guest on.
Yes, The Swirl Suite. Yes,
and so people can listen to you there as well.
Listen to me there.
So many great ways to interact. And I'm going to be joining you in Paris next June. So just a little under a year from now. So I'm going to be going on one of these wine bar tours, I hope.
Well, for sure.
All right. Yeah, since you're on the ground in France, and I'm just loving, what are you excited about for us to drink for summer? And you had a suggestion. I came prepared. I knew the assignment. But tell me, kind of what's going on in Paris. Give us the eyes and ears on the ground of what is hot right now for summer sipping.
Okay, so first of all, it is hot. It is today, I think we hit 98 degrees. So that's very hot for here. And those of you who know, there isn't a lot of air conditioning around the city. Luckily for me, I said I will not live that way until I bought an air conditioner for my home. So I'm comfortable. People are suffering. Nice. I'm sorry for them, but I have aircon at my home. Now, with that said, as far as what people are drinking, what's hot, white wines that are light, crispy, mineral. My go-to is a Chenin Blanc, and I happen to have this one, Parcelles Chenin, and it's Arnaud Lambert, and it's a 2023. And I really like this because it gives me just a stony character. There's also like a lime zest character to it that I really like. It's crisp, it's refreshing, serve it super chilled. That is something that's very popular now. Nice. Something else that is starting to kind of get, not so much in Paris, but in other places in Europe that are a little more forward thinking. Single serving. Unusual packaging and single serving. This is big. UK, Germany, and places like that are not so caught up in a specific type of wine culture. This super easy to move around, whether it is concerts, we're not tailgating now, but concerts, it's picnics, it's barbecues, it's all kind of outdoor garden parties, things like that. I really enjoy this. And this particular one, Boda Box Breeze, low calorie, low carb, 80 calories a serving, like that.
And for those of you listening and not watching, it's a Tetra Pak, sort of like an adult, sippy box or whatever you want to call it. Yes.
As soon as they come out with the ones for the Capri Sun style ones, I need it in a pouch.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Now, are canned wines big? That seems to be more of what you can find. When I was buying my dry Vouvray, because you had suggested Chenin. So I have the Benoit Gautier dry Vouvray. And again, I love the steely minerality. And Vouvray can be dry, but it can also be off dry and some sweeter styles. But this one I knew for sure on the description was dry. And it's just gorgeous and really fun. Someone said, and this was a California producer, that this is the summer of Chenin. So I don't know, maybe it is the summer of Chenin. And
I am with that.
Yes, right? I mean, just if you like a Pinot Grigio, if you like a Sauvignon Blanc, you like a crisp style white. And so I don't think this is a big stretch of the imagination to kind of roll over. But I looked for some single servings because I knew you were excited about that. And all I could find were canned wines. House Wine makes canned wines.
Okay.
So they had a few of those. And then these other things they call buzz balls, but I don't think it's wine at all.
I've heard of buzz balls. I feel like that's a cocktail. Beverage. I am really into the canned, ready to drink kind of thing, whether it's wine or whether it's cocktails. Because I think that's something that's just really easy, really fun. I had a friend visit me from London a couple of weeks ago, and she brought me some cans of Pim's Cup. And so I have those, and that's kind of really fun to drink because you can just, it's a can, it's easy. You don't have to do all this extra. With the bottle, it's like, okay, do I have a corkscrew? Do I have a glass or a cup or something like that? Can I carry glass to wherever it is I'm going? That kind of thing.
One of the things I like is that I have a corksicle It's basically a bottle that fits one whole bottle of wine. So if I'm going boating or to the park or something where bottle would be discouraged, it's insulated. It keeps it cold for a day. And you can pour your wine in that and bring it with you. So but not as easy and effortless as what you're showing us with the single serves.
Yeah, because that, you just put a straw in there and you're good to go. So there's that. I have a cooler bag, so I can put the wine, with the cooler sleeve on it, and then put that in a bag and carry that. So that's nice.
Right.
But otherwise, and it's not 24 hours. It's like 3.
Yeah.
Lastly, as far as fun things to drink this summer, a lot of times in the summer we don't think about reds. We think about reds when it comes time for fall and winter. But there are some sparkling reds, some chillable reds. I was at a wine tasting yesterday and had a couple of chilled reds from the South, which I was actually fascinated by, because I used to think that Sanso, Mourvedre, and Grenache were heavier. So why would I be drinking those like now or often? But if you make them in a slight rosé style, so just a little bit longer than you would rosé, but a little bit shorter skin contact time than a red wine, you get a nice lighter style of red wine that you can chill. Nice. I have this one. I actually got this for a friend. It's called Turbulent. It's from Serral. And this one is very popular. It's a Vin de France from not full South, but it's a Gamay. And you can't tell by the color, but it's a lighter style of Gamay. And it's sparkling, as you can see by the top is like this. It's sparkling and a little bit on the sweeter side. Okay. So it's something that's really interesting for someone who wants a bit of a sweeter style of wine and wants a red, but wants it chill. So chillable reds are the way to go. And if you are just like, I don't know which reds you chill, a Gamay. So if we're talking France, Beaujolais, chill it. Especially if you're doing a Beaujolais or something like that. Chill it, please.
Pinot Noir, I think there's some Pinots that you can chill. I did a tasting last week and we had a Lambrusco, a dry Lambrusco, which is a red as well, sparkling from Italy. And it was, of the 4 wines that I had during the tasting, it was the one that people were most raving about because it really surprised them. They thought it would be sweet. It wasn't. It was definitely dry, but these were all wines I was suggesting for grilling, like outdoor cooking and grilling. And you could easily put it with meat or barbecue or those sorts of things. And so you can find these sparkling reds dry, semi-sweet, sweet. You can find in all styles. And yeah, I don't often think about drinking red in the summer, but a lot of people that's their go-to. And so they are looking for options. Though I think if you get people to try white with food, you can kind of like flip the switch, like, okay, all right, I get it.
That part. I think it's a matter of having them try it with food. A lot of times when people think white wine, they're like, okay, chicken, pork. But when they think about food in the summer, it's usually red meat because it's, ribs with sauce, it's burgers, it's hot dogs, it's things like that we're putting on the grill. It's heavy barbecue sauce, it's dry rubs and spice and that kind of thing. So they're thinking something refreshing. So they aren't thinking wine. They might be leaning more toward cocktails or even beer. And especially where you are in Maryland, with seafood, people are thinking beer, cocktail, or a crisp glass of water or something like that. But they aren't thinking necessarily white wine, which would work amazingly well. So.
I totally agree. What about the natural wine movement? Is that like going strong over there
so
in Paris?
Glad you mentioned that.
A U.S. thing?
No, it's absolutely going strong here. There are quite a few natural wine bars, so you can just go there and whatever you get will be natural. Some of them really good, but some of them are just a little too funky for my taste. There are some bars that I go to where I've gone there enough and know either the servers or the owner. So whatever they suggest to me is something that I'm like, okay, I know I will like this because I trust this person. But just going on my own, like, I'm going to buy a natural wine tonight, it will never happen because I'm going to pick wrong. It's not going to work out and I'm going to hate it. Okay, it's going to smell like sweat socks and that's not what I want. When you're out having a good time, you're with your friends or your family or whatever, and you order a wine, like you want it to be good, you want to enjoy it, like that's what you want for yourself. So yeah, I got to have a recommendation that's natural. But there are a lot more natural wine bars, just serving natural wine. And The cool thing is it's not even necessarily billed as a natural wine bar. It's not like, oh, name of wine bar, this is a natural wine bar. That's not anything that they say. You just happen to go in and drink or taste, and natural wine has a very distinctive taste to it.
Okay.
There's just something about natural wine. I can't explain it. It's a certain flavor that goes along with all the other flavors you get that lets me know it's natural. And so once I taste it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is natural. Like, oh yeah, all our wines are natural. And I'm like, oh, cool. But there are quite a few places like that that I like. I might have to set up like a natural wine bar crawl kind of thing where we go to multiple natural wine bars.
Yeah, I'd love to check that out. I haven't done a lot of experimenting with it yet. I did have a woman on who owns a store in New York City, Orange Glue, and it's all orange wine. So we tasted a couple of orange wines, and I think one of them was natural, and some of the others were maybe didn't qualify for whatever reason in that extreme natural category, but that was really interesting. And orange wines, I think, really do kind of flip the switch on you, because it's like a white wine, but it's not feeling and tasting anything like what you expect
at all.
So your brain is kind of like doing some somersaults, like, wait a minute,
trying to figure out what you're drinking, because you're like, well, how do you get orange from a grape?
Yeah.
And honestly, there are a lot of people who, when they hear orange wine, have thought it was made from oranges. I've had to correct that a couple of times. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, don't be embarrassed. You can't know everything about everything. That's why you're here with me, so we can talk about this. Orange wine is made from grapes, just skin contact. That's all. Sometimes I feel like it might be an acquired taste if you taste enough of them. Definitely not if you're just getting into wine. I don't think that's the wine for you to kind of try. If you're like, oh, well, I don't really drink that much wine, I want to try some things, I would not give you an orange wine. I would not do that. And same with natural. While I enjoy natural wines, I don't, and I'm sorry, all you natural wine lovers out there, don't come for me about this. I don't feel like natural wines are the best example of a particular grape. I feel like if you were really trying to understand a Cabernet Sauvignon, a Grenache, a Sauvignon Blanc, I don't feel like natural wine will give you the essence of what that grape is. So if you're looking at normal tasting notes of what you get from a Sauvignon Blanc, I don't feel like you get those from natural wines from that grape, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Are there any regions in France that, of course there's the biggies, Burgundy and Bordeaux and Loire. We're drinking some beautiful whites here from the Loire, but that are maybe lesser known that all of a sudden have become very popular in Paris and beyond?
I won't say there are any that are becoming more popular, only because people are leaning toward natural wine. And for natural wine, just based on how it's made, it can't be classified in any of the AOCs. It has to just be a VDF or Vin de France. And so with it only being able to be Vin de France, it's like we know based on the grape where it's from, but we just can't say it. So I would say based on that, there isn't really a region that is kind of like, oh, look, this is what's jumping out at us.
But more the natural wine craze, and it could come from anywhere within France, it sounds like. Awesome. So there's a lot of talk over here about people are drinking less wine, less of everything. And this is a huge problem potentially for the wine industry. People are removing vines in California and this sort of thing. Worried about Gen Z. Are they going to drink wine, or when are they going to start, keeping up their end of the bargain? What do you see there in Paris as far as wine consumption versus cocktails and beer and the industry in general?
There's more of a even split between wine, cocktails, and beer, whereas at one time there was a large we're drinking wine, then beer, then cocktails. Now it's more even across the board and not one that's a standout. With wine, especially here in France, most French people have someone in their family that's closely connected to the wine industry, winemaker, exporter, distributor, something like that. So there will always be a close tie to wine, and they will always drink wine. Wine comes out to the table like ketchup comes out to our table in America. So it is something that will always be a part of them. I think there isn't the same gloom and doom talk here because they just look at wine as such a second nature thing. Also think consumption is not high as far as them overdoing it. And having this talk of the dry January or sober October or things like that. There's actually the conversation that comes up whenever they talk about moderation, and I'll tell you why I'm putting that in quotes in a second. They talk about the moderation that comes from the States and things like that. They were like, why are you limiting yourself to say I'm not going to drink in January, but then in February, like, you make up for all that you didn't drink in January? So like, I don't get it.
Freaky February.
Right, that kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay, get drunk in February. Like, wait a minute. I do feel like, and I put moderation in quotes for those that couldn't see me with the air quotes. I do feel like there should be more talk of moderation. Now, I know that's not the question you asked me, but I'm on the soapbox now. But I feel like there should be more talk of moderation because there are people who aren't drinking for health reasons. And I get that, I understand it. But I don't feel like it needs to be an all or nothing conversation. I feel like there is a way. I mean, unless you have like a serious problem, I'm not trying to minimize or diminish anything like that. For some people, it is all or nothing because there is a problem. But for health purposes, health reasons, things like that, if you are drinking well and you enjoy what you're drinking, you're not overdoing it. You're not drinking like, oh, let me see how many glasses of wine I can drink tonight. No, you're drinking it slower because you enjoy it. If you're drinking it with dinner, you're with your friends, you're taking it slow because, you know, you enjoy it. Think about it the same way with Coca-Cola. No one sits down and has 5 cans of Coca-Cola at dinner.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad for you as well. So think about it kind of in the same terms. But back to what we were initially talking about, as far as do we feel like people are drinking less or people aren't drinking wine as much. I feel like there's just so much talk from a health standpoint, and that's the big thing as far as people drinking wine. They're thinking about it from health purposes. Also read an article recently about how people are now on Ozempic, so they've lost their taste for alcohol of any kind. So that has something to do with it as well. And also their taste buds have changed. So drinking wines that they once enjoyed, they don't taste the same, so they don't drink them. And I found that kind of fascinating.
Sad.
Actually.
Very sad.
It's sad and fascinating and sad because I'm like, wow, that would make me get off Ozempic immediately.
Right. I mean, it's done at that point.
I mean, done, because who wants to be that skinny if I can't enjoy a glass of Chenin Blanc from time to time?
I love that. So I have a question for you. If there was one or maybe two wine myths that are out there that drive you crazy that you want to dispel, because I know there's a few that I keep trying to shoot down, but we just can't. What wine myths would you want to say? It's just not true, people.
It has to be expensive to be good.
Yeah.
People really think that expensive or older, like older is better. I'll put those two together. Dispel those. Let's stop with that. And then the one we were just talking about, that it has to be an all or nothing thing, that for health purposes, like wine serves no good purpose in your life. Because I don't think wine, and this might be controversial, I don't think wine and alcohol should be lumped together. I think drinking a glass of wine is much different than having a cocktail, than having a shot of tequila. So to have a glass of wine a couple of times a week, I feel like that is a lot different than if I have, you know, a snifter of cognac or a glass of whiskey nights a week. So that myth that all alcohol is the same, affects you the same, and it adds nothing to your life.
Yeah. And I don't know if Share and Pair Sundays made its way to France or not, but Karen McNeil, the Wine Bible, Karen McNeil, and some other people of wine started a campaign last October called Come Over October, about inviting people over to share a glass of wine and food. And then this spring, it kind of piggybacked onto Share and Pair Sundays, which ran from March through May, to invite a friend over on Sunday Fun Day, for some wine, for a little bit of food, and just really reminding people that wine is about connection. And I think, we connected, we were taking a wine class, but certainly over the many tasting groups that we did, you could put a group, like if you looked at our tasting group, it would be like, why are these people together? Because they're just like all over the board.
Absolutely.
but we have that wine as our connection, and then you kind of get into conversations that are a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been a big focus here, just trying to remind people that wine is a different kind of beverage than just going out and drinking a vodka soda. No offense to vodka producers. Those can be very tasty and refreshing, but it's about meals. It's about conversations. And that's what I think, you know, the French, Europeans in general really get, you know, that is, it's part of the mixture.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I agree 200% that it is about the time spent with friends, enjoying the meal, that kind of thing. The wine is actually secondary. It's not like the primary thing. It's not the activity. And I think too often people are like, oh, what are you doing tonight? Drinking? Like, drinking is the activity of the night. Whereas if we just change the narrative of that, it's like, oh, I'm going to have dinner with my friends. Then that is your activity. Drinking will happen. But when you give it just that little bit of backseat or even passenger seat, you don't overdo it, or you don't have this heavy focus on it the way it would if you're like, we're drinking tonight. And I also feel like you just drink better. I like this idea of sharing pair. I think I might do that this month.
Yeah, definitely. So Tanisha, if people want to connect with you, find out more, if they're heading to Paris and they want to do a wine tour with you, what's going to be the best way for people to do that?
They can either hit me up on social media at Girl Meets Glass. Instagram is the easiest and where I'm most consistent. Or my website, girlmeetsglass.com. And there they can find out what the tours are, get more information about me, sign up for my newsletter that's on Substack, where I do wine reviews and just talk about where I'm going, what I'm doing. Just remember that part and they'll find
It's been great getting back together with you and a little taste with you. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on The Sipping Point, and cheers.
Cheers. Friend. Always a pleasure.
Cheers.